It is now April 2nd, so we got a really good jump on the April Olympians activities yesterday. And what we wanted to do today was take you through an actual example of how you might be able to contribute. So we're going to walk you through today the activities of a hunter and the activities of a writer and give you a real world example because of course we are all about real world data here. So we're going to give you a real world example of how easy it is to contribute and how you really may only need to give like 15-ish minutes of your time and you would make a huge contribution to the work we're doing. So as a reminder, the goal behind the April Olympians activities is to document all of our currently ratified conventions in the CDM. As our community has grown, we have devised these suggestions and ways of how you should be mapping your data to adhere to the rules of the CDM. And what we found is now we have so many of these conventions that we really want to build out a full repository to help everybody really understand the life cycle of these conventions and of these recommendations. And we can't quite do it all contained within the CDM documentation. On top of that, we really want to learn a lot about what people are discussing about the CDM, what we might need to add in the future. We had a great discussion just this past hour in the CDM working group that already the April Olympians work has begun to ignite. So we're really excited about what we're doing. And I'm going to start off by sharing with you some of our resources and then take you into a very quick demo for how you might participate as a hunter. Okay, so everybody should be seeing my screen at the moment, and you should be seeing our wonderful Odyssey Teams tenants. All right, so all of our April Olympians activities are taking place in our Common Data Model Workgroup team in the Odyssey Teams tenant. So the fact that you are joining this meeting today means that you already have access to the Odyssey Teams tenant. If you do not see the Common Data Model Workgroup in your teams that are available for you, just remember there's all that information on the odyssey.org website for how to join a working group. And I would bet either Craig or Elise will likely put a link to that in just a moment, even though I'm handing that to them on the fly. So if you do not yet have that information or that team, you will see it soon if you request access. And you will see we have 4 channels within this team, all related to April Olympians. So I'm showing you the general channel here. And you see we've set up some meetings, but really what I wanted to show you is we've got some posts already out here. And we're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to find all of the resources we've put together. So you take a look at this kickoff post, you'll see a bunch of links. But also within each of these channels, we have all of our files posted here as well. So if you go into each channel, and I'm just going to show you the hunters because that's what I'm going to focus on today. But if you look at the files, so if you're in the channel and you click on files, you will see some files in here. And we wanted to keep all this information and resources for each team in each of these channels so they're easy to find. You'll see here there's an Excel sheet for assigning yourself to certain tables and fields you would like to hunt for. And then there's also a field guide. Each team has a field guide. So in case you aren't able to join some of our calls, you're not sure where to start, we put together these documents for you so you can go step by step in following along with how you might contribute to each of these teams. Now I'm going to take you through the field guide for the Hunters of Artemis here, but just in case you need a refresher, all the information is in that document. We also have one for the writers and we have one for the builders. So don't worry, in case you forget or you don't know where to go, we're trying to keep all these resources together for you. All right. So I'm going to jump into our demo here. So the first thing I did is I went through, and now I've opened up our document for how you can volunteer to pick up a table and field to hunt for. Now, Evanette is one of our leads of the hunters group. So she has added here some information for you to read. Again, you can see here we've got it nicely broken out into our different weeks. We are in week 1, and you can see we're in the orange color, so the orange tables. Now, the example I'm going to show you is actually from week 2, but that's okay. And you can actually see we've got some people signed up here. Andy was just adding some things to our GitHub project today. We've got a couple other folks signed up for observation period as well. But I've added myself to drug exposure end date, so I want to hunt for drug exposure and drug exposure end date. So the first thing I'm going to do is I actually am going to start in the CDM documentation itself. Many of our currently ratified famous conventions exist in the CDM documentation. So I'm going to go here. And the rule we apply is that drug exposure end date must be filled in. But we have this really long set of suggestions for how you might identify the drug exposure end date if it's not explicitly available in your data. Now, this is a great example of a famous convention because the rule is that you have to have a drug exposure end date. And this convention here says, well, if you don't have it, here's all the steps you can take to fill in this field. So that's a really great option for me. And I'm actually going to take that one. And that's going to be one of the first conventions I write out. So, oops. Trying to get to it here. Sometimes the sharing bar, I don't know if you guys ever have this problem, but it doesn't let me, it like stays in my screen, so I can't click all of my things. But here we go. So the next thing I'm going to do is I actually went to the Themis GitHub. So I'm in github.com/odyssey/Themis. And another great way to find ratified conventions is by looking in the closed issues on the Themis repository. So I see here one of our longtime CDM workgroup members, Don Torok, opened and closed this issue earlier in 2019, actually. And so we actually took all the information that was here, and that was actually moved over to the CDM documentation. So I've already covered my bases by saying, okay, I found some information for how we suggest people should document and impute the drug exposure end date if it's not available. So I've covered my bases there. And then the next thing I did, I actually went to the Odyssey forums, forums.odyssey.org. And I searched just for drug exposure end date. You can see a bunch of different things come up here. And I read through a couple different forum posts, one for drug exposure end date, for negative data. Oh, there we go. And one for verbatim end date. How do you categorize and how do you reconcile when verbatim end date and drug exposure end date don't align? So these are two other conventions we might be interested in. So I just want to show you what I did with those. So if we move over, most of our work is going to take place in our GitHub project. So I'm going to put that out for you here. And you can see here we've got a template ready to go. So if you open up this template, you can copy just this little markdown template here. And you can see that I've already opened some issues. So the biggest one I found was how to determine drug exposure end date when it's not given explicitly in the data. This is a Themis convention. I went ahead and opened up this ticket here. And the link you can see, I just link right out to the CDM documentation because I identified we had a Themis convention from 2019. We had already pulled it into the CDM documentation. Now we want to move it over to our repository. So really what we need to do is just take all that information that's there and write it up in a full document for our new repository. So just to show you how I do that, I click add item and I'm going to say, I'm going to add a new convention. It shows up here as a draft, and then I can edit it, and I'm going to copy, paste in what I copied out of the template. I'm going to update it, and then I can convert it to an issue, and I can put it in any of the repositories. You know, if it's a Themis convention, then I'm going to convert it to a Themis issue, and if it's a CDM convention, I'll convert it to a CDM issue. And that's basically it. So once that's done, I'm actually going to get rid of this one so it's not junking up our space here. Now, once it's done, I say, okay, I'm done. I think I've documented what I need to document. I'm going to move it over here into this swim lane, saying it's ready for documentation. It's ready for somebody to pick up. And at that point, that's when a writer like Melanie might come in and say, hey, I know what to do here. And she can start writing it out.
All right. So as a writer, I'm going to take a look at all the current issues that I can that are available to me. Here, let me screen share. Okay, so everybody should be able to share my screen. So as a writer, I'm here in the April Olympians writers team, and we have all the files linked up here. So we have two different files. We have the field guide for the writers, and this gives you a little bit of information about your role as a writer. We also have the Themis convention template, and I'll go over this in a minute. It gives us a little bit more information about what we want you to put in each of the fields that you're going to be adding information to. And then there's a link for the project board up here at the top. So as a writer, I'm going to find all these different conventions, and the hunters need docs, and I'm going to choose which one I want to work on. So I'm going to take this one right here, how to populate day of birth when it is not provided in the source, and I'm going to move it over into the work writers docs in progress. So now I'm taking ownership of this issue, and this is what I'm going to be working on. So I moved it over to the in progress lane. So we have the writer's template right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this up, and it gives us this copy and paste template. So I'm just going to take it. I'm going to copy the whole thing. And then I'm going to open up the issue that I have self-assigned. And then down at the bottom, I'm going to copy and paste that into the comment section of the issue. Right down here. And this is going to be in the R Markdown format. So as you'll see the asterisks on either side. So we're creating this in the R Markdown format. So that way, when it goes to our builders who are actually building the repository, it'll be easier for them to insert it into the convention library. And then for each of these different headers right here, for this ratified convention, the issue number given when the issue was created by GitHub. So it tells you what goes in each of these fields. So you'll just take that out, go up to what exactly the issue summary is, review this for clarity, conciseness, and any type of typos, and then just take it, copy a summary of the issues, and put it down into here. So you're going to do that for each of those fields. Now, if you're unsure exactly what the field is asking for, with the Themis convention, that was one of the links, one of the files within the Teams. I've already pre-linked it here into my browser. It gives you the template, the field name, The description is in column B, so it gives you further description. And then for this particular end date time for the drug end date heuristic that we're using, we have it right here in column C. We have an example of it in any notes. Now you will find out there within our CDM documentation, items that are already part of our conventions that have existed since we're unsure when. So some of these fields may be null. But we put them into this template because moving forward, once we have this process in place in this convention library available for the community, the Themis Working Group is going to continue our work of reviewing issues and ratifying conventions. And that way, from this point in time forward, we will have dates for when all of these issues have been ratified and added to the conventions in the convention library. All right, so back to our example. I'm just going to X out of that. And then once you have completed that template and filled it out, if you have any questions, Maxim is the lead for the writers, and Claire and I are available, and you can write any comments into MS Teams to ping us. Just move it on over to the writers ready for review. And this stream of work, it will be reviewed by the work group leads and Claire and myself, and possibly a vocabulary person if it's a vocabulary heavy issue, before it gets moved into the repository lane where it will be picked up by the builders for them to add to our convention library. Back to you, Claire.
All right. So as Melanie said, we've got a great team of leads. So you will be hearing a little bit more from our Hunter team leads, which who are Erica Voss, Evanette Burrows, and Jiawei Chen. Our writers team lead is Maxime, and our builders team lead is Katie. So we're really, really appreciative to all of them because they have very generously donated their time to this effort. So you know, if you have any questions or concerns specific to a team, feel free to reach out to them. And Melanie and I both will be really, monitoring the chat and any questions. For example, we had some people not able to open issues on our GitHub project. If that happens, we actually worked through it today in our CDM work group, and we figured out what we need to do to make sure everybody has access. So if you do need any help with that, please just let us know. You can tag us on Teams or on GitHub. You can send us an email. We are here for you. Right. So with that, I'm going to pause. I think we have. Would it be okay, Craig, if we take a couple minutes of questions before we move over into the Perseus demo?
Absolutely.
I'm going to open it up there. Okay. Not seeing any immediate questions, which means we did a really great job telling you how to do it. And I hope to see so many names in our sign up sheet and taking on these writers challenges because this really is a community effort. So in that case, we were going to move over to the Perseus demo. But before we do that, I quickly wanted to share with you all, I know that you've seen a little bit about the technical advisory board. As we were coming up with topics for our tutorials for today, I know there have been some questions about, how you might set up your ETL, what those technical considerations are. Those can sometimes be challenging to answer at a community level because, of course, everyone has a slightly different infrastructure, and those those technologies are constantly changing. But what I did want to point you all to is the Technical Advisory Board Wiki. So this has been a really useful resource. Any decisions that they are making will be posted here. So I'm just going to put this in the chat. One nice thing that's been really helpful is they've been talking a lot about the different platforms that are going to be supported, continually supported, as well as potentially sunsetted in the future. Things like Microsoft Parallel Data Warehouse might be sunsetted. So if you want to just keep track of that and what's going on from a technical perspective in Odyssey, I just want to point you to this wiki because it's been really helpful, and they will continue to post their decisions here. All right, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anton Ivanov. He is a fantastic developer at Software Country, and they have put together the Perseus ETL tool. And if you haven't seen it before, it's very, very exciting. And I think it's something that the community has been needing for quite a long time. So Anton, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Claire. Thank you for introduction. Hi, everyone. So I'm going to show you a quick overview of Perseus, and I just want to start from a couple of slides. Perseus tool, it's combination of web tool for ETL configuration and engine for conversion or native dataset to CDM format. Perseus contains all major tools for conversion, like White Rabbit for scanning native schema, and also has engine for converting, configuring ETL, and engine for converting native dataset to the CDM format. Also contains embedded Athena vocabulary and Usagi tool for creating lookups for new code set, and also has embedded tool for data quality check. Typically, workflow looks like below. So you have native dataset, you use White Rabbit to scan schema, and then uses creating ETL configuration for conversion, then convert it, and result is CDM database in CDM format. And now I want to show you all major features. This is my screen. So on the right side, you will see CDM version. Let's use 5.4. And now you see all CDM tables on the right side. You can filter them, for example, clinical data, combine filters. And to start, you need to scan your native dataset. You need to specify connection string. It currently supports several database engine. Or another option is if you have a White Rabbit scan report, you can use it. We will load scan report. And in the middle, you see all native tables. And on the left side, you see all columns that contains all native tables. You can do following. For example, if you know that path ID is person column, you can click. You will see tables that contains these columns are highlighted. Also, you can combine fields. For example, gender field. Click on gender field, and you see that only this table contains both of these columns. To map one table, to map native tables to CDM tables, you just need to drag and drop. I will map person to patient table. Now we can start mapping fields. Just double click. You will see all native fields and all CDM fields for person table. Now you have different few options. Easiest one is direct mapping. You just drag and drop, for example, person to person ID or person source value. So these values will be used as it is without any transformation. Also, you can apply different transformation for native fields. For example, let's use birth date. It has date type, and map it to year of birth. It's integer. Now you can click on this circle and use SQL transformation. You will see some embedded transformation. Also, you can create manually, just type SQL, also some helpful things. Let's use visual type. What we need date part here, and let's use here. You will see SQL preview. Now click apply, and for this field we will be used SQL transformation. So we get year from date. Another example, for example, gender. Let's use it for gender source, and the same for gender concept. Let's back to the main screen. If you click on this icon, you will see values that are in these fields, and gender contains 1 for male, 2 for female, and also frequency, and 3 for others. So let's go back to field mapping. Let's open vocabulary and do filtration. Let's apply gender. Apply. You will see, and you see concept for gender. Let's go back to the gender concept, SQL transformation, and now we apply switch case. In our case, for 1 is male is 8507, 8507. For female, 34, and let's set default value. For other, we will use 0 concept ID. Also, we can combine native tables if needed. For example, let's combine 2 tables: clinical and medical. The UI helps you to write queries, so let's use metcode from medical table, join by metcode with clinical, and let's use all columns from T1 from clinical. Oops. And read code from medical. Give it new name, clinical, for example, 2. Oops. Something goes wrong. Clinical, medical, T1 code, T. Okay. And okay, now new table was created. Now let's map it to condition occurrence, for example, and let's map this field to condition occurrence and condition source value. For concept fields, Perseus has a bit different UI. You will see condition occurrence, not condition concept. Where is it? Condition concept. Okay. You can if you need hard-code some value, for example, let's for type concept add hard-coded value or something else, and just for example, and you can also apply lookup transformation. It means Perseus has embedded lookups. In our case, it's read code, and it already has read code lookup. You can check queries that will be used. So during conversion, this query will be used for creating lookup, and original value will be converted to concept ID. You can apply this for source to standard and source to source. Just click include source to source. Also, if needed, you can additionally add some additional SQL transformation. Just click on the field, click the switch, and for example, you can stream value, and additionally, for example, change case for this value. And so in this case, we'll be use it lookup. If you use this code that are with code that are not exist in embedded lookups, you can create your own. For this, you need to go to code mapping. It's almost the same as Usagi tool. You need your CSV files with values that you're going to use in your lookup. It's comma separated values, and apply. It shows values that are in file, and let's use for source name source code description. This value will be used during search, so it will try to find similar values in vocabulary, and for source code we will use column source code. Okay, let's, for example, just select a couple of values, apply. And you will see results. If you're unhappy with the result, you can manually change it. For example, let's change this. You can select a couple of values. Yeah, and you see that for source code now will be used two concepts, first and second, and then you just need to select codes that I want to save to lookup, give it some name, for example. New vocabulary, new lookup will be created, and next you just need to change your concept configuration to new lookup. You just need to change name of the vocabulary and save to new lookup. And when you're done with all configuration, you just need to click convert to CDM button, then specify source and destination connection string. Source and destination can be different data type. It can be Postgre for source, and for example, SQL Server for destination. Specify connection string and click convert. Source will be converted to CDM format. I guess it's all. All information, instruction about deployment available on GitHub page, Odyssey Perseus, and also it contains a wiki page, all instruction available. And if you have any question or trouble, please contact us. Please try, and we will be happy to help you with this.
Great, Anton, thank you so much. Claire and Melanie, we have some time. If there weren't questions before, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before we kind of head into the next week?
Really just make sure that if you would like to be a hunter, that you are looking at that Excel sheet that I shared, as well as, most of our discussion and work for April Olympians, we would like to take place in the GitHub project, just so we can really keep track asynchronously. We do have folks, Jia Wei, one of our hunter leads, is in Shanghai. And so he's going to be coordinating the effort, hopefully in the Asia Pac region. And then Maxime is in Rotterdam. And so he's going to be coordinating some of our European colleagues. So we really want to make this as asynchronous as we can. And to do that, we just all need to practice good hygiene in terms of, signing up properly and then keeping everything in the GitHub project so everybody around the world knows what's going on. But, apart from that, really, we have a couple check-ins. We have one tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, and then we have one Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. So if you wanted to join and learn a little bit more, and if you wanted to talk face-to-face with somebody, will be available there. And I did put the link to the April Olympians general channel in our chat, so you can go there and join.
Thank you.
And then
Go ahead.
I would say for next week, we're going to have a tutorial on more vocab things, and it's really going to be focused kind of a little bit on what Anton showed there around when to use the source to concept map table, when to use the concept relationship table, how to use Usagi effectively, and then we're again going to touch a little bit on community contributions. Like if you create something in Usagi and you want to contribute it back, just another refresher on how to do that. So we're going to be going through the life cycle, I think as well, custom concepts, right, Melanie?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a lot around vocab for ETL and when to use which technique, which I think is going to be really exciting.